Hello everyone, welcome to Caroline's Craftery. Today we are doing some dyeing. Now, quite often I will put white things that I get into a box, and then when I feel it's worthwhile, I'll start dyeing it different colors. Now I've done purples, blues, coral, yellow, pink, kind of a blushy pink, and some aqua colors. Now I'm doing the green, and I thought I would show you what I do and what kind of things I will dye. Now for all the stuff I did today, I am using this RIT liquid dye, and I have a lot of it. I just recently got like, I don't know, 5-6 bottles, as well as I had some. It's fairly reasonable and it lasts forever. So in here, this is just a little plastic dish. I put 1 cap of this color, and I put 3 of these little, I think this is a 1/2 pint. I put 3 of those in here. And as you can see, I've got cheesecloth, I've got ribbons, I've got laces, I've got some of this, I think they call that a rat tail cord. I've got some of this. If you watch my Thrifty Canucks videos, I got a big bunch of this. I've got some organza ribbon, I've got some seam binding, I've got some of these things, and then I also have a bunch of different kinds of wool. And yes, you can dye them. And then I've got a whole bunch of pieces that I cut up off of like tablecloths and stuff like that there. Now I've got one of my trays. It's still marked up and got shimmer mist and stuff on it from when I did all my paper. I don't care about that. And I start off with the wool, because I like to have lots of dye so that it sinks in. Now, with the wool, or different fibers like this, the less you move it around, the better. And yes, it will get tangled up, but overall, it's usually easy to undo as long as you don't like really work it. So I just kind of push it down into the dye. And different things, like you can see this, it's almost partly still white, and that's okay because that adds some really nice stuff to it. And I'm just going to squish this out the best I can. And I'm going to put it over onto the tray. Now I'm going to leave it in a ball. That's how it's going to dry. And then let's do this. There's actually a couple different eyelash trims. There's this little silvery stuff. There's just your plain, well no, this one here is sparkle. And then there is some just plain in here as well. And same thing, I'm not going to move it around. I'm just going to kind of push it into the dye. And different things react so differently to the dye. Some things will come out like bright green, and other things will be almost still white. And squeeze out as much of that as I can. But you can see this eyelash trim, it's still so pale, beautiful color. And again, I will leave it like that. And as it dries, maybe when it's about half dry, I'll separate a little bit. Seam binding always dyes wonderful. And 100% I leave mine all crinkled up in a ball, because then you get the crinkle and seam binding. Now sometimes what I will do is I'll take a piece that I've dyed and I'll just spritz some extra dye on it, or maybe some oxide or distress inks, or even just a darker dye to make it kind of a mottled look. Beautiful color. Nice, not quite minty green, but close. And again, leave it in a ball. Let's do the cheesecloth. Cheesecloth dyes like so easy. And I don't leave it in my dye long. I just pretty much dip it in and then I pull it out, wring it out, and I do not rinse it or anything like that. I know that's kind of how you set it, but I don't know about you, but I don't plan on washing my journals. That turned out to be a really nice color. And I'll show you the tray after here. Let's do up all of this stuff. And this lace here dyes really, really nice. It absorbs the ink really, really good. But I don't care for white very much. That's why a lot of it I will dye. But it's also why I really like buying white stuff, because then I can get it any color I want. I've used paint. I've used alcohol inks. I've used all kinds of inks. Easter egg dye. Let's do all of these. Now these really take a while to absorb. Now why that is, I have no idea. I guess it's just the fabrics or materials that are used. But you see when you pull it out, it's a tiny little bit green, but very, very pale compared to some of the other things. But that's okay. I don't mind the paler green. And of course, the more dye you put in your water, the darker it's going to be. I do prefer my stuff being a little bit lighter. Okay, now we've got all this here. But I usually save it up and then I'll do it all at one time. So that's what I've been doing today. And I will go and show all the colors once they're dry. Not sure if it'll be in this video or the next video. I'll see how long this video is. Really nice minty green. And by leaving it kind of crunched up, I might get a little bit of mottled color just because, you know, one dries faster than the other. We got some big chunk of lace that was on. Not sure if this was a tablecloth or a dress or something that I cut apart. But yeah, basically I just get it wet. And I also want to make some variegated stuff today. And that might be in a whole different video because just because it might not have time to do it. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that process yet. I think what I will do is wet my fabric and then just spray different areas with the same dye. And, you know, so then I could get some blues and pinks and greens or whatever. There is that. Now comes, don't want to get dye everywhere when I reach. Now we've got all of our little pieces of doilies, tablecloths, all that kind of stuff. Now some is like white and some is like this brown. So that's really going to determine the color, because it's going to be different colors. And I just kind of plop these on top of each other. Give them a little bit of a dip. I'll even put like a whole handful in. I'm not like picky about how many I put in, how long they stay in there for. I'm going to put all these together and give them a good twist. And put them over here on my tray. I'll show you what I do with all the stuff on my tray in a little bit. So here we've got some more. These really absorb the dye really fast. But because they're not white, you get like a totally different look to them. Because they're kind of that brownish color when you start. You kind of get a muted brownish tinge to the color. You can see the color. You can definitely tell that it's green. Let's do these two long pieces. These are the edges of some of the doilies and tablecloths. And there's a good example right there. This is from like a brown threaded doily, like this here color here. And this was like a white one, so you can really see the difference in the two colors that you will get. And that's half the fun of doing this, I think. Let's throw in a whole bunch of these ones. And I find, like, you know, a pint of dye or a little over a pint will do quite a bit of stuff. Like, this is starting to get low, but this is all that I've got over here to do. See, that one there had a stain of some kind on it, but that's okay. Adds a bit more character to it. And then I'll leave these for a couple of days, let them all dry. And I just kind of, as the water's getting lower, or the dye's getting lower, of course it gets a little harder to soak them. It's one reason why I like doing like the sori silk and the wool and that type of stuff at the start, because it's easier dipping these types of things than it is dipping the stringy stuff. Let's throw all of these in here. And as it gets low, I will actually tip it on its side just for all the water to go down. And then pick up all these little pieces. And I saved all kinds of little pieces when I was cutting up the doilies and the tablecloths, mostly tablecloths. And let's just wring this out again. Put that over there. Okay, let me wipe this off. Just gonna put my dye over there carefully, and I'm going to bring in this tray. Now here is the stuff that we just dyed. Now a lot of it I'll just leave, like all these. You could spread them out and it, you know, like flatten them really nice and dry them all that way. But I don't have room for the amount that I'm doing. I just don't have room. So I will kind of pile them up a little bit. And then we've got some of these. Because I can go ahead and I can iron these after. But sometimes I will, when I get these types, I do like to kind of spread them out a little bit. Nothing, I'm not going to go into big detail on laying them flat and doing all that, but I will kind of lay them out a little bit. I love like little dainty ones like this. Those are great on different projects. And then of course there's all these little odds and ends of pieces, and I'll just throw them in kind of a pile. It's mostly just the whole flowers like this here that I'll lay out a little bit. You can start to see all the different shades of green that I get from the same dye. The thickness of the thread and the brand of the thread, just, it makes such a difference. Lots of spreading these little ones out a bit. Love little ones like these. Those are so fun to play with. But this gives you an idea of what I do with them. And just the variety of things. I might sell some of these in the shop because I really don't need this many, and I still have some left over from last time. But then this will just sit in my craft room. Oh, see, like already getting some, it's picking up some color from the tray, which is okay. I don't mind that at all. Don't mind it one little bit. It seems to be about the only one that's picking some up so far. But that's okay, because at times, like I might even lay, after this is dry, like that green and brown actually go pretty good together. So might even, you know, spray a little bit of that. I think there's a couple pieces there. But the seam binding I really like to keep crunched up. And as it dries, I might go around every couple hours or every hour and just kind of roll it up into a ball. The rest doesn't need to be crinkled, but it's easier drying it when it's all crinkled up. But let me just show you a couple of the other colors. So here is some purple. Now these turned out a lot darker than I ever would imagined. Or is this? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the purple I did. And these are okay, but these are like almost blue. These are a beautiful color. But there's all those ones. This was done with denim blue. And like some of it's almost purplish and others is like quite a deep blue. The seam binding, you see in here again, we're picking up some color off the tray, which is okay. So there's that. This was done with maroon color. Love how these colors turned out. And you've got right from a very dark one right up to almost like a blush type. But love how this color turned out. Very, very pretty. This was aqua, and love the shade of blues. These are almost like a green, but then you get the really dark compared to the real light. See here on this lace here, that didn't really even get colored, but that's okay. Turn it that way, maybe it'll pick something up. But your seam binding, love this color. And here we have coral and we have lemon yellow. The yellows you can really see, like some of them are almost brown to a light burnt orange color, which is perfect. But some things are like really bright yellow. And this was coral, and again, all the different colors of it. And you can see the difference, like over here in the different textures of the different fibers, the different types of materials used. And there's all the wools and fibers. Nice big chunk of seam binding here. And again, picking up a little bit of coloration. And some of that could be just because it's sitting in maybe a little pool of dye. And that's why too, once this dries, I'll come back and maybe give it a little squirt just with a spray bottle to get that molted look. But I also want to do some variegated type colors. And I'll play with that, and then I'll show you how I did that, of course. But I think it'll be in a different video. I'm going to let all these dry, and then we'll look at some of them once they're dry, because the color will change a little tiny bit. And then maybe I'll play with a few things and see how they go, and then I can show you what I've done, and I can show you the actual finished dyeing of all these items. I do want to get a bit of an orange one, but I don't have orange dye, so I will probably use some inks for those, distress inks or something. Make up a little bit of a liquid and just give it a little mist on some of them. But I hope you like this dyeing video. And stay tuned for the finished one. I will do a second follow-up video for sure of this all on its own. Just on how they turned out and things that I did to maybe change it, because like I've got all these pink ones here. So I could change those up a little bit by spraying a little bit of some other kind of ink on it, or coloring it a little bit with different types of inks. So check out the links below. Check out the other videos, the Facebook group, my shops, all that fun stuff. If you can like, share, and subscribe, that would be wonderful. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.